Okay, everybody. It's 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. This is the Asset Positioning Services webinar. I'm Randall Baxter. I'm the president of Asset Positioning Services, and I'm going to do my best today to teach you how to win in your presentation of the Family Tree Asset Positioning Go-To First Interview. So I'm going to start uh, by introducing an old friend of mine. I'm a history major, and this man lived 2,500 years ago, and his name was Sun Tzu. I don't know if you've heard about him before, but he was an old Chinese general. And today we're going to apply some of his wisdom to what I'm going to do. And I'll be honest with you, when I wrote Approach, Plan, Succeed, I had Sun Tzu's book on my desk, and I keep a copy of it at my house all the time. But anyway, there's a couple of things that I want you to be aware of. And when we talk about our company culture and our mission and stuff like that, is, the greatest victory is that which requires no battle. And and what I've learned is that some of y'all think that this sales presentation is so hard, and you say, "Oh, yeah, I'm not ready. I gotta memorize it." It is not hard, and if you'll just understand that today, my mission today is to prepare each and every one of you for your first or your next sale. And it's not a rah-rah session. It's just logic, and I just want you to be aware of that. So anyway, when I look at it, I just want you, this is just a quote from Sun Tzu: the greatest victory is that which requires no battle. So the Family Tree Asset Positioning Go-To First Interview that we teach you all does just that. It does not require battle. It does not set the stage for a battle. It leads and this is important, listen to this, it leads the prospect to a decision they know they need to make. It is not a battle. It is a process. And if you understand that every one of your clients want and need to make this decision, how good you're going to be if you already know that there's no reason to have a battle. These people want to make this decision. They just need some more information. So, and I'm just going to give you a hint that this works for me. I know it'll work for you and every one of your clients. If you engage people with what they expect, it is what they are able to discern and confirms their projections. It settles them into predictable patterns of response, occupying their minds while you wait for the extraordinary moment, that which they cannot anticipate. Think about that a minute. If you're going through a sales presentation and some people have their defenses up, and you don't put them in a position where they have to put their defenses up, and I say that to you all the time. We'll come back to that. Don't try to sell them. Don't go into a sales presentation. They expect you to, and when you don't, it discombobulates them a little bit, and they're going to listen to see. They're going to anticipate what you're doing, and it's not going to be any kind of conflict. It's not going to be any kind of battle. So, and here's what I want you to know: it's the power of understanding of the definition of the prospect that sets the stage for progress. And it doesn't matter what you know about annuities, nobody cares. It doesn't matter what you know about life insurance, nobody cares. What they want is to talk to you on a favorable basis about the topic you both agree on. And I always talk to you about being able to build that bridge from a suspect to a prospect. And that suspect is just somebody that you think would want to benefit from a conversation with you, and you turn them into a prospect because they agree to talk to you on a favorable basis. And that's where almost everybody struggles, especially you folks looking for your first sale or your next sale. You don't have to do that. Here's the fact. The suspect has agreed to discuss your topic of choice on a favorable basis. That's what makes them a prospect. Without this setting, you're entering a battlefield in which you cannot win. You must understand the terrain. And sometimes I hear stories that you all talk about when you go in and you tell me a story about, well, I didn't get the sale. And I said, well, what did they say to you? And they said, well, they needed to talk to their wife. Or they needed to talk to their spouse. It makes me want to pull my hair out. Why are you having the conversation with one half of the buying unit? Why are you allowing the situation for failure to appear? Because this presentation that I teach requires that the two people that are involved be present with each other so that you can let them talk to each other. And if you just have one there, I'm not going to say you're wasting your time. I'm just saying you're setting yourself up for defeat and failure, because their out is naturally to say, I don't want to think about it, or I need to talk to my wife. If you don't have that situation, if you don't allow that situation to happen, you don't miss that opportunity to close that sale. So, I'm trying to teach you to be salespeople, victorious salespeople, not just product salesmen. But if you're going to set the stage for failure, how are you going to win? And that's what Sun Tzu was saying. But anyway, so let's talk about the definition of a favorable basis. And I looked it up in the dictionary today. A favorable basis is a basis that becomes more positive or less negative over time and is said to narrow or strengthen. One that becomes less positive or more negative is said to widen or weaken. So if we go through the sales presentation and you get the positive commitments of the sales process, you're going to win. If you go through and weaken your position, you're going to lose. So here's what I learned from Sun Tzu in this thing. If you know yourself, you'll win all your battles. And some of the nightmare stories that I heard this week about some licensees and the situations where they lost sales, I kept thinking, how could you have expected anything else? So, if you are in control of the interview, that is what Sun Tzu would say is to know yourself. You know what you're doing. And if you use the proper tools, these unique mechanisms, one is the agenda. If I was going to go into a battle in estate planning and I had an agenda and a fact finder and a sales script and a power phrases, and I know when to use them, I'm not going to lose, because I'm not going to force the person I'm talking to make any decision. I'm going to let them come to conclusions that allow them to win and move themselves forward. That's different from a high pressure sales presentation. And that's different from a situation where you go in half cocked and only talk to one part of the family unit. So I decided to do a little modification to Sun Tzu this morning. The art of the sale is of vital importance to your career. And I'm sure everybody knows that. Your income and your mindset. The road to success or failure. Hence, these tools cannot be ignored. If you go into the battle with the wrong weapons, somebody says, don't take a knife to a gunfight. Okay. Go in with the right tools and go in knowing when you're going to use them and how to use them. So in our industry, we have products and services, we have market impact, we have our sales career, we have client testimonials, we have all that. But if we don't use them right, we've wasted our time. So if you want to win 100 victories and 100 battles, and that's hard to do. I don't win 100 out of 100. I usually get 92 out of 100 because I use the tools correctly. So to win 100 battles and victories in 100 battles, that's not the skill. The skill is to subdue the prospect without fighting, to let them come in and say, yes, this is what I want to know. This is what I want to do. You are helping me move forward. That's when you start making sales left and right. You see, your prospect has agreed to meet you on a favorable basis. That's big. That's what cuts the men from the boys or the wheat from the chaff. If you are good at converting a suspect to a prospect, that the battle is won if you don't blow it. So you got to remember, your prospect wants you to lead him or her or them to a favorable decision in which they have a win. That's all they want. And if you're going to talk to them about the estate plan, they want to know, is their estate plan correct and what's wrong with it? And how can they fix that? That's all they want to know in this interview. And to try to do more is a mistake. Just like in war, the way to victory is to avoid the strong and strike at what is weak. Now think about that. That was 500 BC, 2,500 years ago. So I'm going to tell you in today's world, when we're doing estate planning, what is the weak point? If you're going to attack the weak point is when this person or persons agrees to meet, in most cases, in the proper design of their current estate plan. They don't know if they have a proper estate plan. That's the weak spot. That's why they agree to talk to you. And they're going to be so impressed with you if you do the family tree, asset positioning, go to first interview, because it's going to clear the air and let them see what might be wrong with their current plan. Remember now, we don't want to talk to them about the plan we want them to buy. That makes us salespeople. We want to talk to them about what might be wrong with the current plan they have today. You didn't have anything to do with it. It's not your fault. You're coming in as the hero here. You're making them aware of things they weren't aware of. So all I'm trying to do is say, when you use the proper sales presentation, build your prospect a golden bridge to retreat across. They can look at you and they can go, oh my gosh, you're right. I need to come out of what I'm currently doing and do what is correct for my family. Thank you for helping me get there. That's so important, and it builds a bond that can last for decades. Well, to be honest with you, I built that into the sales presentation. It's built in for you. I call them power phrases. And if you use the power phrases in the right spot, you're going to come out of there a winner every time, and the person you're talking to is going to see you as a hero. So anyway, I'm going to talk to you about power phrase number 1. You know, I'm a better advisor if I understand your family dynamics. I guess I'm going to put a R on there, or I go misspelling things again. I am a better advisor if I understand your family dynamics. Can you see how powerful that one sentence is? It helps if I draw your family tree. When they agree, they have made the first of a series of what I call micro commitments. They have agreed to let you be a better advisor by letting you understand their family dynamics. That's big. That's powerful. That can make you a lot of money in a short amount of time if you use it correctly. So let's talk about a micro commitment. A micro commitment is any decision or permission the prospect agrees to that helps the both of you move forward. And Greg, you said it to me this morning. You had already gotten somebody you were talking to say yes to you several times. And that's exactly what you're doing with the micro commitments. If they keep saying, yes, it's okay for you to do that. Yes, it's okay to do that. Eventually they get so deep into the conversation, they can't do anything but agree. So I do this, but I try to stay just really, really subtle, even to the point of not, I always say, well, we'll come back to that, or we don't need to talk about that right now. I do that on purpose because I am disarming that person's objections in advance. And they don't even know I'm doing it. So, I can call it being extremely mysterious because they're expecting me to go, they know I'm a salesman and they expect me to go in for the close, and I don't. if you are mysterious in that way and not doing what they expect, you become the director of your opponent's fate. You become the director of your prospect's fate because you are guiding their mindset, you are guiding their thought process, and you are knocking their objections out of the way, and you're cleaning up the whole thoughts where they can say, you're right, I need to look at this. This is what I have is not correct. Once you get them to see that, that's that golden bridge where they can escape. I can escape from my current plan and go to a better or ideal plan. I don't know what it is yet, but I think you're helping me get there. That's what I do with the family tree, asset positioning, go to first interview. So it's true. The true purpose of the power phrase is you're seeking micro commitments that follow. I don't use a power phrase unless I want an agreement. And then once I say the power phrase, I don't mind saying, do you, or do you mind, or asking for permission. I use the most powerful statement I can have, and then I ask them for permission to move forward. It disarms them. It eliminates their objections, and they give you permission to move forward. Use your power phrases. They're worth a lot of money to you. So now I just want to say power phrase number 2 in the sales presentation. I want to explain to you how all our properly designed estate plans work, and I do it in reverse. That's part of the sales presentation. Then I go, will that be okay? Another micro commitment leading to an advance in the decision process. When they say yes, the door just goes open a little wider. Paraphrase number 3. Tell me a little bit about your real estate holdings. That's micro commitment number 3 because it creates the environment of participation. They start telling you what they have. Now, that's not an accident. It's a process. And then they start telling me, oh, I've got a ranch in Texas, and I've got a farm in Colorado, and I have a condo in Tennessee. And all of a sudden, they start realizing, gosh, he just told me about the will and everything. And does that mean I'm going to have to go to probate court in 3 different states? They're thinking that. You're not thinking that. They have a thought process that's going on, even though they're talking to you. There's another thought process going on. They're responding to what you say, but there's also reactions going on. It's not an accident. Power phrase number 4. Can you tell me about your long-term care plans? This opens the door to proper funding. You didn't say, let me sell you a long-term care plan. You say, tell me about your current plans that you have today. And you know what? That brain system kicks in, and they have a thought process that's going on separate from the conversation they're having with you, and it is exactly where you want them to be. Exactly where you want them to be. So can you tell me about your long-term care plan? This opens the door to proper funding. It just opens the door. They don't know it. You know it. And there's no deep dive required. It's a mistake to do so. All you're doing right here is making an awareness discussion, not a sales opportunity. You want them in the back of their mind, these things have to be churning and turning. And then they keep wondering, why is he not trying to sell me that? Or why is she not trying to sell me that? So if you want to be a wise warrior, you avoid the battle. You set the stage for the thought. You make them aware that there's something missing, and then you move on. You just move on. So let's talk about paraphrase number 5. One of the key discussions of a proper estate plan is the discussion of your income plans for the future. I need to ask a few income questions. Will that be okay? I always ask right there, will that be okay? And when they say yes, it's just another micro commitment. Now they've told me where the real estate is. They've told me about their estate plan. They've told me about their long-term care plans. Now they're about to tell me about their income structure, and they're interested. They want to know what I have to say. So a yes is another micro commitment. That's my fifth micro commitment in just a couple of minutes. It's a victory without a battle. They are following my lead. And you know what? It's a perceived win by the prospect, a chance for an open discussion for everybody involved. How can you have that conversation with one unit of the marriage? You can't. You don't have it with dad if mom's not there. You're wasting your time, you're blowing the opportunity, and you're spending your tools and weapons, and you're going to have to do them all over again. So you don't want to miss a chance for an open discussion with everybody involved. It's a mistake to do that. And you know, one thing I learned about Sun Tzu, it says you can design your victories as well as you design your defeats. And sometimes I've learned that some of our licensees and some of our new inexperienced agents will go in designing the defeat in advance. And there's no sense in it. So when they talk about their income, it opens doors for future discussion. All you want to do here is open the door for a conversation you're going to have later. In the back end sale concerning income gaps, income cliffs, sure things, and maybes. And these are just vocabulary words. You're building a vocabulary that you can have a mutual conversation soon, but not right now. You just want to be sure that they understand what a gap is and what a cliff is and what a sure thing is and what a maybe is. And if you don't do that, you're setting yourself up for failure, because this is where the majority of the income comes from. A micro commitment victory for both prospect and for you, the presenter, if you do this. So paraphrase number 6, right after we talk about income and right after we talk about long-term care plans, I do this on purpose at this point. I'm a firm believer that your current health situation is a prime factor in your investment decisions. Would you agree? And then I'll say another word till they say yes. I think out of all the presentations I've done, I've had one person say he didn't agree. And then when I did turn to page 3, he had so much money, it didn't matter. But that's not the case. In most cases, that's not true. So when I say, would you agree? They say yes. Now, how many times have they said yes to me already? 6 times. It's my battlefield now. I'm in control. I've defined the terrain. I've defined the timing. I've defined the issue, and I've defined the weapons. I'm probably not going to lose in this battle. But when you ask the question at the end of the income and then you ask them about their health, it reinforces the long-term care income health paradigm. It puts them all together. That's why I have them on page 2. I am now in control of the thought process of the 2 people that are in front of me, and usually should be a man and wife or a spouse. It could be same sex, it could be different sex, it could be whatever, but they know that it's them together that has to have the long-term care plans and the income plans, and that they have to deal with the health issues. That's all together now. So it opens the minds for both people to an awareness of the importance of the proper paperwork and funding. I haven't asked them to do it. It just sets the stage. How could they be thinking about anything else? So, so asking the health questions at the bottom of page 2 on purpose, the way I tell you to ask them, creates an awareness of the need for the discussion of long-term care plans, income planning, and the coming storm, which is the video that's in your website. For those of you who aren't using it, you're really giving up a very valuable asset. Every one of your clients ought to have a copy of that video sitting in their email. So, it's a conversation or discussion that mom and dad need to have to be properly funded according to the answers of the health questions. If mom's sitting there and she knows that dad has had a stroke and a mild heart attack, or that mom has Parkinson's and dad has lung cancer, or one of them is sick and one of them is healthy, that comes up in the conversation on the health questions. It reinforces the need for long-term care planning. It reinforces the need for income planning. It reinforces the need for the proper paperwork that you haven't even asked for yet. But the cool thing is it also identifies the person closer to the cliff and the need to leave the survivor properly funded, as well as the first goal and the goal of this interview, the need for proper paperwork. Those of you who pivot too quick and go to a product sale, when you're there to talk to them about their current estate plan, you look like a dang-do salesman, and you're acting like one, and you're probably losing the sale. Don't do it. So let's look at paraphrase number 7. One of them that you've talked to may be sick. So, Mr. and Miss Prospect, I'd say that, and I don't care to say it to them, it's true. You're a little closer to the cliff than your spouse, aren't you? And most of those people, when they're in my office, the healthy one will start shaking head yes in agreement, and the one that's got the health problems, we usually look at the healthy one and agree. Yeah, that's true. How can they say no to what you're about to ask if they agree that that's true? Paraphrase number 8. Let's do a ballpark asset review. Will that be okay? I'm trying, I want to know if they have any money or not, but I want to give them an out if they don't want to tell me everything. It's okay. But as soon as they say yes, they've made another micro commitment. And after completing page 3, you will be ready to close the estate plan sale. And so will your client. They'll be ready too. Let's look at paraphrase number 9. Hey, you've done a good job with your assets. With all the topics we have discussed, don't you think it's a good idea to have the proper paperwork? You're not asking them to buy anything. You're asking them to agree. And they'll both say, yeah, I promise you. But how would one of them say no? And, I told you back at the first of this meeting, they want you to lead them to a proper decision. They will begin to appreciate your skill. It's paperwork in which you will own with no additional legal fees as you have relationship changes, asset changes, and health changes. This is where you talk to them about the value of the product that you're selling. You haven't asked them to buy it yet. You've just said, don't you think that would be a good idea to have proper paperwork? So let's look at paraphrase number 10. Here's where you set the stage for the back end sale. Look your new client in the eye and say this: your estate plan will be ready at this same time next week. We've talked about the timing issues there. You can have it ready in 90 minutes, or you can have it ready in 2 weeks, whenever. We can have it witnessed and notarized at that time. Paraphrase number 11. When you come in next week, I have some ideas for you, but first I need to do some research and I want to run some numbers. When you come in next week, would you like to see your numbers? I don't think I've had anybody tell me no. And remember now, I've already led them through where the real estate is and what their long-term care plans are and what their income is and what their health status is and whether they have assets in the bank and money markets and annuities and life insurance and non-qualified investments and IRAs and 401ks and Roth accounts. We've already been through all that. So when I say, when you come in next week, I have some ideas for you, but first I need to do some research and I want to run some numbers. When you come in next week, would you like to see your numbers? How could they say anything but yes? Because you've already built all the stages inside the on page 2. So here's something to remember. Now, I learned this from one of my friends from a long time ago. When you ask for something, you either get it or you don't. That's philosophical, isn't it? But that means either victory or defeat. And what some of you have failed to learn so far is that if you do this correctly, you are setting the stage for victory for you and your client. If you let this system break down in any level because you don't do it correctly, you're probably going to set yourself up for defeat or for delay. And mostly what I hear from most people is delay. So, and something Sun Tzu said, opportunities multiply when they're seized. You know, if this person has agreed to talk to you on a favorable basis and you don't lead them through the decision process that they agreed to talk to you about on a favorable basis, that's on you. They expected you to lead them through this decision. So anyway, Sun Tzu said victorious warriors win first and then go into battle. You know, when I go into a presentation, I've got one tonight after this meeting. I got to meet a client at 5 o'clock, and I've got everything already in the briefcase ready to roll. I'll control the interview. I'll tell them what they need to do. I'll show them why. I'll say sign here. They'll say sign there. See, I've already designed the victory, and I'm taking the victory in with me. And that's what my client expects of me. But you know, a defeated warrior will go to war first and then seek to win. I might go in there unprepared and then try to make a sale. I'm not going to do that. I don't have time. I'm going to go in there, everything ready to go to make the sale. So nothing Sun Tzu said is, he will win who prepares himself. You know, if you go in, and again, if you're only talking to one half the buying unit, or you're not, or you're going in with several alternative motives, you're just setting yourself up for defeat. So when I talk to you about the proper approach, that's what sets the stage for victory. Yeah, it goes all the way back to the very first step. Hey, I think you would benefit from a conversation with me about your current estate plan. It's the proper approach that sets the stage to the front end sale, the back end sale, and all future sales. It's worth every bit of the 30 seconds it takes to say it. The proper setting is the battlefield. The proper go-to first interview sets the stage for the win before the battle. The ultimate victory is the proper funding of the estate plan. If you know that that's where you're heading, your client doesn't know that's where you're headed yet. All they have to agree to is to meet with you on a favorable basis. That's it. After that, you're in control if you want to be. So, and you've seen this to sacrifice, you know, there's essential factors for achieving success. And sometimes, whether it's getting up early in the morning or studying for the presentation or having the proper paperwork or doing the best first-class job you know to do, if you want to unlock success at Asset Positioning Services, that's what you'll do. That's all you'll do. So, you know, your success will not conquer an enemy. It will create an ally who will make referrals and advocate for you. Today in our earlier meeting, somebody said, do you provide leads? And I said, well, no, we teach you how to generate the leads yourself. at no cost. So anyway, and you saw this picture a few minutes ago. If you know yourself, you will win all your battles. It's not hard to remember. But if yourself allows you to go in and do things
Randy,
half-hearted, yes.
hey,
Somebody,
can you tell this is
go
Gary.
ahead.
Can you tell me again, is
Gary, I
it
can't hear
I
you.
think you would benefit if you have a conversation with me about your can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Um,
I think you would
if you
benefit
I think you would benefit
from a conversation with me
if you have a
about
conversation
your
with me about the
current estate plan. I think you would benefit from a conversation with me about your current estate plan. Not the one I want to sell you. I don't say that. It's not the one I want to sell them. That's not the conversation I want to
right,
have.
right,
I want to have a conversation about the plan they have because it was probably set up either by an attorney who didn't fund it or an amateur on a website. You know, you're going to come in and destroy all that with positive energy, with positive questions, and you're going to guide them to becoming aware of something that they might not have been aware of. So you know, those sentences. I don't know if we put a timer on it, but I think you'd benefit from a conversation with me about your current estate plan. Those who have it with me usually learn something they were not aware of. That doesn't even take 20 seconds, but it sets the whole stage for the battlefield, the weapons to be used, the end goal, the reason you're going into this. It does every bit of it in one sentence. And it's non-aggressive, it's not abusive, it's no pressure. It's an opinion. Gary, I think you'd benefit from a conversation with me about your current estate plan. If you have this conversation with me, you might learn something you weren't aware of. Why don't we just talk for about a few minutes, maybe sometime tomorrow if you have time over a cup of coffee? And the reason I might say that to you is that I might be aware of your family dynamics ahead of time. I might know something about your family that says, I think that you would benefit from that conversation. And if I don't know what those family dynamics are, now listen to this. If I don't know what those family dynamics are, I'm going to go to power phrase number one. And I'm going to say, Gary, I'll be a better advisor if I understand your family dynamics. I need to draw your family tree. Will that be okay? You have just taken command of the whole battlefield. The guy selling the IRA investments, and the guy selling the Social Security uh, concepts, and the guy selling the investment strategies, they can't say that. I can't say if I was doing Social Security, I can't say I'll be a better advisor if I understood your family dynamics. They won't say it. They'll all say the same thing all the other guys say. That's what makes you distinctive, and being distinctive is part of the battle. I call it the cycle of success. And those of you who have not experienced the cycle of success yet have not seen the fact that if you follow this process and get those micro commitments, you're going to write business that's going to lead you to referrals. It's going to take you all the way back to the original statement of, hey, I think you'd benefit from a conversation with me about your current estate plan. And that would be because you're reading the family tree, and you can say, hey, what situation is your brother in? And they might say, well, my brother's wife's sick. And all of a sudden that should tell you, you need to go them. You're doing them a favor if you go have that conversation. So, all I can say to you is, let me teach you to hunt. Some of you come to class and don't hunt. Some of you come to class and the next week you have not changed your life one bit. Some of you come to class and then call me and say, well, I made a great sale. I had one licensee call me last week and said, Randy, it went down just like you said it would. I think what I said was, well, I said it would. I told you so. If you just do this, how can people not do what you want them to do? Because you've opened the door and given them the opportunity to learn why their current estate plan might not be appropriate and that it might not be designed right, and that it is more than all situations probably not properly funded. Isn't that what you want? Isn't that the three conclusions you want them to come to? But you don't walk up to them and say, I don't think your estate plan set up right. That just offends them and makes them build a wall. All you say is, I think you'd benefit from a conversation with me about your current estate plan. You want to change your income? Change what you do each day. So anyway, I'll answer your questions here. I just wanted to sort of entertain you folks a little bit on what other people in the past have thought about the situations that we are all in, where we get up every morning and we have to win some battle somewhere, and we call that income. But we don't have to take it from people. We don't have to misrepresent things. We can go in and be honest, and we can go in and be forthright and leading them to the spot they want to be in, and it can still generate a great income for you. So anyway, those of you who are here for the first time, you have to go to randallbaxter.com. Go to FTAP training. I'll give you a secret. The password to FTAP training is FTAP courses, and you go in, you can watch the videos of everything we've done. And that would lead you to the sales presentation, the income and gap presentation. It'll lead you to marketing ideas. If you've been a licensee for over 60 days and haven't turned in an estate plan case, it makes me look at you and go, well, why not? What is it? What is it you're not implementing? And it could be you don't want to make a sale. There's nothing to do about that. But in the other cases, there's an implementation issue. And if you can't define it, call me. I'll define it for you. I'll find it for you. It will be somewhere in the cycle of success. There will be a missing link or a broken cogwheel in there somewhere that's not doing its job. It's not being defined as something that has to happen. And in the cycle of success in any kind of business, if there's something not working, the whole system breaks down and it becomes inefficient. So if you find out what that spot is, what are you going to do about it? When are you going to do something about it? Well, if you don't want to do something about it, that's okay too. I just want you to know that the roadmap is there, the tools are there. So anyway, does anybody have any questions? Anybody in the chat room want to ask a question?
Randall, I have a question.
Oh, all right, who went first? Was that Cynthia?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I've spoken to 3 people that have an estate plan, and they discovered that I did share something with them, or they did discover something that they did not know, that wasn't complete. But they want to go back to the people who, the lawyers that did their estate plan. So how do you deal with that?
Well, okay. And Cynthia, I'm just going to be honest, okay?
Okay.
They either did not want to deal with you or you left something out.
Okay.
And you have to find out what it was you left out. And because if they are willing to go back to the person that sold them a defective piece of merchandise when you're telling them what the correct thing is, what's up with that? Okay, why would they either did not believe you and they wanted confirmation, or something else went wrong. And you have, whatever that is, we need to find that so that you don't have that problem anymore.
Okay.
So, we call it firing the broker. Okay. But if somebody says, hey, this guy didn't do this right, so I'm going to go back and ask him to do it right, and he's going to charge them again. If we don't do something right, we don't have to charge them. We can go in and fix it, and they don't have to pay another penny. So if it happened to you 3 times, I'm going to have to say there's something you're doing wrong,
I
because
think
the
part of
odds
it, these are
I'm
people
sorry.
that I know. I know them. And so I think part of it, the issue is that they don't see me as a financial person. They see me more as whatever they see me as. And
Okay.
so they want to go back to the lawyer title folk that
Okay.
did
So
not.
Cynthia,
Mhm.
were you right in your diagnosis?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, they acknowledged that it was not covered by the persons that, they weren't properly funded. They recognized
Okay.
that.
Well, and the lawyer's going to tell them just to call somebody. If I were you, I'd wait about 2 days and call them back and say, "What'd your lawyer say?"
Mhm.
I think that you would benefit from a funding interview about your current estate plan. You
Okay.
didn't lose when they said they were, there. They just, for some reason, they had an excuse or an ability to put up an objection. And Cynthia, I don't get objections. Because if you follow the micro commitment system, all they can do is say, well, that's something I was not aware of.
And I know they haven't gone back to the people either. So I guess I need to.
Well, I'd have to look at them and say, what happens if you're in the hospital tonight in a coma and the doctor doesn't think you're going to survive and that paperwork's not right?
Mhm.
Sometimes you have to
Okay.
be that blunt.
Okay. I
Okay.
got you.
And you've come a long way, Cynthia. But here's something I just want you to learn. You do not have to tolerate that kind of behavior.
Okay.
Find out what happened in your sales presentation that created that situation 3 times. That's something
Okay.
you're doing. That's not something they're doing. There's something in there that creates that doubt. Don't allow that to happen. And we have to find out what it is. If it was 3 different funding issues,
Yes.
okay. Was it the same attorney?
No.
Okay, so it's 3 different funding issues, and all you need to do to come back and say that is, hey, lawyers don't fund these things. It's not an issue that you go back to the attorney about. If you do, go ahead and call them, and then I'll come back in and we'll schedule a funding appointment. Because you know what, I've got some ideas for you, but I need to do some research and run some numbers. And when you go talk to your attorney and they tell you that you need to go fund it, do you want to see your numbers?
Okay.
There's nothing in the sales presentation that you can't come back to. Nothing
Okay.
that won't correct that problem. And sometimes it's just inexperience. But when somebody hands me something like that, I'm at a point where, well, if I've lost it, I'm just going to take my best shot and see if I can't turn them around. And most of the time, you'll turn them around.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
who else got? You're welcome, Cynthia. Who else got a question out there? I see.
Randall in the chat. Felicia says, hi, Randy, could you forward the link to the video? I'm just curious when we need to send this link. Thanks.
Are you talking about the coming storm? The answer is
Felicia,
you send that video anytime you want to. And what you do is say, I need you to watch this video. It's something that affects us all. And in a couple of days, I'm going to be back in touch with you because I think you might benefit from a conversation with me about your current estate plan. And they will watch that video. The videos that are in your family estate doc software are so powerful and so strong. If you're not using them, it's because you are choosing to not use them. And my question for you is, Why are you choosing to not use something that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to create, that is yours for free? It's built into your system. And when you send that video, if they watch it, they are engaged in a conversation with you about their estate plan just by watching the video. It's the conversation that you have with your clients that will make you money, because that's the battlefield. You go in and take control of the battlefield, get the micro commitments, get them saying, yes, lead us off this battlefield and guide us to a proper diagnosis and a proper prescription. Does that work? Use it. What else we got out there?
And then Felicia also says, for people that like the idea of what we are talking about, what do we say on the phone, or is it better to set up, I think she means a call?
Well, you just ask the question, you got to define the purpose of the call. And the only purpose of the call is to build the bridge between the suspect and the prospect. If you have not done that, to go into a sales presentation is to shoot yourself in the foot, because you are setting yourself up for failure if you have not put these folks in the proper stage at the proper time. And you learn that with experience. But if you're going to call them, you got to decide what the purpose of the phone call is. And once you've accomplished that purpose, get off the phone. And if your purpose is to sell them on the phone, you better be really, really sure that you have set the stage for them to say yes for the purpose of the phone call. The fact that you make a phone call matters little. It's the purpose of the phone call, the timing of the phone call, the mission of the phone call, and the outcome of the phone call. That's it. So don't make a phone call if you don't know what the plan is. And we talked about that a minute ago. To go into a battle without a plan is to lose. And Sun Tzu taught us that 2,500 years ago. We ought to listen to him. Any other questions?
And then Felicia also says, some people say, why should we come to us and not go to lawyers? How do we respond to this?
Okay. All right. First of all, I would ask you, who set the stage for that kind of statement? You're using attorney written software. You're using decision tree programming. You're selling a product that has unlimited use with no additional legal fees. And if they want to go in there and pay twice the price for half as much, tell them go ahead. But it's probably because you didn't set the stage right. First of all, if you say, I think you would benefit from a conversation with me about your current estate plan, why would they turn around and make a statement like that about the attorneys? Okay. The only reason they would do it is they're looking for a way to not do business with you. Or you didn't say what I teach you to say, because no one would come back with that kind of quip. If you approached them just in a simple way, I think you might benefit from a conversation with me about your current estate plan. That doesn't mean you have to sell them anything. You just want to talk to them about their current plan. So, and a lot of objections are imaginary. A lot of objections never going to occur. It's just a fear. And if you are following what I teach you to say, those things don't happen. Most people say that to me. I don't want them as clients anyway. I've had it said to me a couple of times. I don't care. Because the number of times that I might say, I think you might benefit. If I run into somebody that says, well, I want to go talk to my attorney, I'll just say, well, go on. I hope he bills you for it. So, you all need to know that if you'll follow what we teach here, those things will be minimal. They will almost never happen. Any other questions?
Then Liz asks, how long does this meeting take when you are meeting with someone for the first time, either a referral or a new suspect?
I'll be honest with you, if you're with that client more than 45 minutes, you're wasting their time. If it's dragging into 2 hours or 2.5 hours, you're not in control of the interview. You want to control the interview. You want to follow page 1. You want to get down to the real estate. You want to go up to page 2, and you want to get through that. And you want to say, we'll come back to that. You control the timing. You control the interview. You want to control all the way up to the point is, don't you think you need to have the right paperwork? And then stop. It shouldn't take hours to do that. Does that answer your question? I'd say maximum 35, 45 minutes.
Randy, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
In studying the printout, basically the whole first interview printout, the one you sent out that, was a Christmas tree, you had red printing, green printing, black printing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, maybe I remember. I'm happy to. Go ahead.
Well, my question is, it's like, in watching you do the interview with the couple that, a couple of weeks ago that you've sent out,
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that's on that original, that you sent out that you did not actually do in the interview that you recorded for us most recently.
Right.
Should I try to go through and transcript out what was in there previously, or
No, because Tony, every interview is different. Every interview.
okay.
And if I skip something, that just means I'm just like you. And if I add too much in there, that just means I'm just like you. You're going to skip things. It doesn't matter. Okay. The mission is to follow the process. And if you do skip something, they don't know. But don't skip the things that are important, and that's the power phrases.
Gotcha. All right.
So
I just didn't know whether if you had edited it down some and, we didn't have a new document and whether I need to create that myself.
No. I'd say the document you have is more complete. Sometimes the conversation leads to where you don't need to do parts of it. You just have to use your own gut feelings. And even today, the power phrases, I didn't word them exactly like I might have worded them in the conversation. Every conversation is different. It's the message that counts, and it's the goal. If you get them to the goal, and you got to remember what the client's goal is. They think they would benefit from a conversation with you about their current estate plan. That's why they're attending. They've not made a promise to buy anything. They've not, all they've said is, you know what, you're right. I probably need to talk about that. If you can get them to agree that there might be some fallacy somewhere in their own current estate plan that affects the people that they love, they're going to be open-minded to you, regardless of what you say or what you do. Do it, be sincere, follow the process as well as you can. You don't have to follow it 100% verbatim. You just have to follow the process. Page 1, page 2, page 3, power phrase 1, power phrase 2. You can change the wording of the power phrase any way you want to, as long as it has the same message. So don't worry too much about.
I was trying to emulate, not innovate. So that's why
I know that, Tony. I know that. And Tony, tell me tell everybody here what you told me this week.
Well, basically, I'll go back. This is not exactly the way I told you, but Randy had been telling me, stop it. And the stop it was that I was thinking too much and thinking I had to be perfect before I did it. And, it's like he talks about his numbers of 10, 7, 3. And, it's like I finally got off my duff and got over my fears. And it's like, so far I've made 4 presentations and 2 sales at $19.95. So
that's better than 10.73.
It is way better than 10.73. So basically just everybody else that, is hung up in their own brain like I was, stop it.
There you go. Now, those are 2 powerful words of advice, aren't they?
Very true.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. Any other questions? Any additions?
Nothing more in the chat, Randall.
Okay. Well, all I got to say to you is you are in control of your own destiny. And when you identify somebody and you see that they have an issue or a problem that you think you can fix, then, you know, you're in the business of fixing those things. And last week we talked about people who might have disabled children. They might have children that don't handle money right. They might be going through a divorce. They might be going through an illness. They might have inherited some money. They might have sold a house. They might, any of those things that are going on. Once you become aware of that, okay. Now this is a horrible thing to say, but this week I have followed the trials and tribulations of a young pregnant lady with a kidney infection. Well, and I might have let that person down if I haven't had the conversation with him. Hey, I think you might benefit from a conversation with me about your current estate plan. So whatever the situation is, if you're astute enough to become aware of it, I don't know. You guys are probably not old enough. You probably never watched Mighty Mouse cartoons. Anybody here ever watch Mighty Mouse? Know who Mighty Mouse is?
Here to save the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, here I come to save the day. So, and he would see the problem. Okay. And he knew how to solve it. And on Saturday afternoon, I'd go out after I watched that, I'd go out and jump around with my cape and I'd say, here I come to save the day. But I have converted that statement to, instead of here I come to save the day, that statement now is, I think you might benefit from a conversation with me about your current estate plan. It's the same thing. Except most of us don't run around with a cape anymore. I had one. Anything else?
Just a few questions about the recording. It will be emailed out tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Okay. All right. That's good. And it'll be on the website soon, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of wisdom in Sun Tzu. He conquered China without major battles. And sometimes he would look at somebody and say, hey, there's a battle coming here, and we cannot afford the loss. We don't need to fight that battle. And Cynthia, maybe you don't need to fight that battle that somebody says, I want to go talk to my attorney. If you have enough people to see when somebody says something offensive like that, it shouldn't bother you. You should just go on to the next one.
Okay.
Okay, don't dwell on it. Let it go. But do try to figure what it was that made them say that. And like I said, when you said it happened 3 times, that tells me that it's something that you are doing, not something they're doing. So we just need to find out what that is. That makes sense?
Yes, I just think that, like I said, there are people that I've known for a long time, and I think that transferring from being in a classroom to me doing financial, is
You're still a teacher.
right. It's just financial,
Well,
and
maybe.
they recognize that I know what I'm talking about, and they see it, and
Well, they would go in my birthday file, and I would contact them at their age change or their birthday later on. I'd also be aware, hey, have you had any relationship changes or asset changes or health changes that you might benefit from a conversation with me now?
mhm.
Because you know what? The lawyers don't ask them that.
No, the lawyers don't.
So wait 3 months and reapproach them. But
Okay.
the problem that I think a lot of people have in sales is they're waiting on a sale that they might not get to happen.
True.
And that's kind of the definition of insanity, right?
True.
Okay. So just, if you don't have the outcome you want, move on. Just move on. Yeah. And it's, if you have enough suspects to approach, you won't ever have that problem.
Okay.
Anything else out there? I'm here.
Nothing
I'm not
more
gonna
in the
be-
chat.
Okay, all right. So we had a pretty good crowd today. We do have the entry level class Friday for those that you want to attend. We'll be talking about lessons 11 through 20 in the Family Tree Asset Positioning, a Go-To First Interview ebook, day 11 through 21 in the Advanced Training Spoon-Fed series. And we're just going to be talking about what it is you learned in those areas. So if you want to attend, let us know. That's on Friday at 2:00. We do have tomorrow one more recruiting interview with people that want to come in on the entry level or the bronze level. And we'll be making that presentation. We did one of those this morning. So we're up to 4 different classes a week right now. I think our next one that I'm going to add is going to be on the master licensee level. And we're going to be talking about how to become one of those and how to develop that role in our company. Okay. I've got an appointment at 5:00. I'm going to go I'm already ready for it. But I just want to look at it one more time so I know I have everything. So, because you know what? I'm going to choose to win this battle tonight in advance before I go in. I'm going to control the conversation. I'm going to tell them what I think the problem is. I'm going to tell them what the diagnosis is. And I'm going to write the prescription. And it's probably going to be about $50,000 in money moving. That's not big. But it's a nice late afternoon piece of work. Okay, so if you think about it that way, and I will tell you one other thing before I go. Many years ago, I found out that I needed to have an extra $1,400 a month in income, and I've asked myself, how many annuities do I sell? Extra annuities in a month do I need to sell to have $1,400 in income at 7%? And I think that figured out to like $20,000. And I spent that whole month or maybe that whole summer trying to make $20,000 sales because I only needed $1,400. Once I realized that was a crazy way to do it, that I needed to make $14,000 instead of $1,400. And then I asked myself the same question. Somebody asked me that today, state the answer. If the answer is $14,000, the questions are, what do I need to sell to make $14,000? And then you need to ask the question, who buys things that I would make $14,000 if I sold it to them? And then I asked the question, if I just sold one of those a month, what would it be and who would buy it? And the answer was a $200,000 annuity contract. And then I had to ask myself the question, who buys $200,000 annuity contracts? Well, most people who buy $200,000 annuity contracts in the middle class world are closing an income gap or a cliff. So that tells me, how do I get into a situation where I can make a sale to someone who's in an income gap or a cliff? And then I realized that I needed a sales presentation that brought me to the level of the income gaps and cliffs. And then I said, why do I only need to do one of those a month? Why can't I do one of those a week? And the answer was that in order to not do one a month and do one a week, all I have to do is increase the momentum of what it is I'm doing correct that makes it successful once a month. So all of a sudden, and you know what? It didn't take. It took me a long time. It took me about 10 years to get to that conclusion. Okay, and the reason they got there is because I was fooling myself. I thought that I was happy making that $1,400 extra a month. Now, the sad part is that I get to where I'm not happy making the $200,000 sale every week. But I also realize I don't have to make a $200,000 sale every week. But I do think I like to make $200 of sales every week. So I don't mind going to dinner tonight and buying a cup of coffee and writing up a $50,000 worth of annuity business. I don't mind that at all. I used to think that was big. Now I think it's not very big. But at the same time, it gets me 25% through the week. And then every once in a while, I don't write $200,000. Every once in a while, I write $2 million. And the process is no different. It's all because I thought someone would benefit from a conversation with me about their current estate plan. See how simple that is? And if somebody tells you no, nobody hears that. It's like you're walking down a hill in a snowstorm and you slip and fall. First thing you do is look around and see if anybody saw you fall because you're embarrassed. And then you realize nobody really saw you fall. You just get up, dust yourself off, and move on to the next one. So, if I'm going to help any of you, I got to get you over your fear of failure. I got to get you over your fear of lack of success and one time, which would stop you from advancing and trying again. But I can't do anything about you not doing anything about it. I don't know how to deal with that. All I can do is say, why would you do that? Okay. And the answer is maybe that because that's where you want to be. Okay. Why would I try to interfere with where you want to be? I guess I'll leave it right there. That's my thought for the day. I got to cross town. I got to get ready. I'm going to use my weapons, my tools. I'm going to control the battlefield. I've already designed the outcome. I already know what the outcome of the whole conversation is going to be. And I'm going to go in there with everything and I'm going to say, sign here, do that, and we're out of here. And that's what I want you to learn today. Okay. So we'll talk again next week. I'll give you one more chance for questions. So I don't see any more. Anybody have any more questions?
Just a whole lot of thank yous, Randall.
Well, good. I had that many thank yous for everybody else. I'm glad you're here. It's important to me that you're here because I think that we reach people. And I'm not changing the word for the year. Remember what the word for the year is? Does anybody know? Anybody remember? Implement. What's holding you up? Okay. All right. I got to go. Y'all take care. Have a nice week. Bye.